all members of a public body to continue participating in meetings remotely. The open meetings law requirement that a quorum of the body and the chair be physically present at the meeting location remains suspended. For this meeting, the commission is convening by video conference via Zoom app is posted on the town's web meeting calendar and the Conservation Commission agenda, identifying how the public may join. Additionally, the meeting is also being broadcast by HCAM through its platform. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating, or that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that others may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything that you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Supporting materials that have been provided to members of the commission for this meeting are available on the town's website. This meeting will feature public comment after commission members and staff have discussed each project application on the agenda. The chair will open discussion to public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak are asked to identify their name and address. 3 minutes will be afforded to each public comment. Each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted via roll call of the members. And I'll now confirm the commission members who are present. Melissa,
Here.
Jim,
Here.
Ted,
Ted is present.
Ed,
Here.
Janine,
Here.
Carrie,
Here.
and this is Jeff. We'll confirm staff that are present. Kim,
Present.
Anna,
Present.
and Joe with Lucas Environmental.
Here.
All right, great. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Let me just look at a couple people waiting to join the meeting, so I will let them in. They're in the waiting room. Okay, so let's start with the work session items. We have a number of documents for review, which
Chair.
we discussed last week. Kim, any final comments on any of these documents?
No, but I did want to also suggest that you might want to announce the continuances for the benefit of the audience.
Yes, thank you. I was planning on doing that, so thank you, Kim. We have a number of continued hearings for folks who are on the call. So the West Main Street abbreviated notice of resource area delineation has been continued to February 28th. The trails discussions for both applications have been continued to February 28th. And I think that's it, correct, Kim?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah, I thought there was one more, but I guess not. Okay. Okay, so if anyone is on the call and you are anticipating listening in on those hearings, they are not going to be discussed tonight. They've been postponed until February 28th. Okay. So documents review, no additional comments from Kim. So if I can get a motion from the members present for Kim to sign on behalf of the members present.
This is Ted.
And a second.
Second.
And we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim, Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and Ed.
Aye.
And Dom and I. All right. Okay. Turkey Ridge Estates, the cease and desist continuation for the violation discussion. Kim, do you want to give us a quick overview of where we're at here, please?
Sure. So I created a little PowerPoint presentation with some of my world-renowned artwork. So hopefully you guys can get a little bit of benefit out of that. So just to kind of ground you again, this is a general map of the site. It's a little residential subdivision. It borders the Sudbury River to the north, and the site is generally steeply sloping topography towards the river. So the flow on the site kind of runs down to the north. Flow coming from the west over here slopes down towards these two basins that are designed to accept most of the stormwater runoff at the site. So this is named Basin 16 and this is Basin 20. So this was the kind of the low spot of the site, and this was the location of the original violation, which occurred on December 29th. So on January 24th, if you recall, the Conservation Commission discussed that December violation and decided to issue fines, which were held in abeyance. So on January 26th, which was 2 days after the last meeting, there was a large rain event, and there was some additional locations of violations. So these are those two lower sediment basin areas, which are not completely constructed yet. They're roughed in. And there was, several locations where turbid water had breached and some where additional sediment had breached. And this location over here, there was a large volume of water. It was clear at the time. So there are some photos. Sorry. Here's the area of Basin 16. Here's one of the locations of turbid water sediment breach. So the applicant installed erosion controls, hay bales there, and then you can see the turbid water on the opposite side of the limit of work erosion control. This is just some photos of some of the additional sediment that was deposited into the buffer zone area, and then the applicant shoveling some of it out there. This is a dewatering area that was constructed by the applicant. This was working really well. They did have a breach of this dewatering area during that January 26th storm, which caused some of the sedimentation that I had shown you. This is the location of the original violation. It's been reinforced with hay bales, and you can kind of see some of the remnants of that initial flush of sediments. And then this is the area all the way to the east, which has or had a very high volume of water. It was running clean, but the volume was a bit of a concern. So I just kind of wanted to run you quickly through the site progression. So this is where my artwork comes in. This was the site cover conditions approximately on December 29th when the original violation was discovered. The orange polygons represent basically bare ground, bare, loose, unvegetated soil where the soil had been stripped and the vegetation had been grubbed. The green area is the areas roughly that were still vegetated at that time. So as of January 10th, the applicant had rough graded the two main detention areas, added some mulch in these areas, and covered a slope with some erosion control blankets. So you can see we've made some progress. The yellow is kind of the stabilized areas, the orange being the unstabilized areas, and the blue being stormwater BMPs. So Anna and I went out today, February 7th. And so this is the kind of the updated rendering. So the applicant now has a crushed stone construction road. There is an additional construction road that's going to access Basin 20. There's a dewatering sump and then an associated riprap swale with checked dams that is being used. Water is being pumped from Basin 20 and up to the dewatering area to create a work area down at Basin 20. Basin 16 is rough graded. There is some mulch over near lots 1 and 2. This area remains unsecured, as does the area with the cistern, and then this lot up here. There was an additional erosion control blanket in this area and over here as well. So just some updated photos from today. Here's that dewatering sump with riprap and the associated riprap swale. Here's the construction road to the stormwater BMP, and there is ongoing work on the retaining wall associated with the stormwater BMP. That retaining wall forms kind of the back face of the stormwater BMP. It is going to be kind of raised above existing grade. Here is the area of basin 16 rough graded, and the applicant has created a little kind of makeshift outfall area here with a check dam. So that being said, there is still kind of a large area of, unsecured soil at the site. So this is lots 1 and 2 cleared. There is a little bit of mulch at the top, but there is still lots of area that is unsecured. And then at the site today, we also found some unsecured spoils piles. So the applicant has made a lot of great strides in getting the work forward for the BMPs and controlling the water at the site. Definitely still some work that could be continue to be done. So any questions, let me know.
Thank you, Kim. That was, appreciate the artwork, the presentation. I think that really gave us a good overview of what's going on. So the unsecured stockpiles in an area that where there's still a lot of exposed dirt. Kim, what's your recommendations for that for the applicant?
Yeah, I mean, all soil stockpiles on the site should be secured with erosion controls. And if it's, dry and dusty, they should be covered with plastic. I would love to see more and as much soil as possible temporarily stabilized. I know that the applicant is trying to get there, but I would love to see more mulch, more blankets. The permanent solution is the construction of those 2 basins in the north, and I think that's going to improve the site a lot, the situation there. We just gotta get them constructed. Got to be on fire to get those things installed.
Okay, Mr. Perot, are you on the call tonight?
Yep, I'm here.
So can we just just in context, I think at the last meeting, we, discussed the urgency of, getting a lot of these areas secured because of potential, future rain events, if you recall that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a few days after we had our last meeting, we had another rain event, so there was another incident. I guess, what I'm hearing from Kim is that, when she's gone out to the site, you haven't been out there. It's been kind of minimally staffed. So, my takeaway from that is that, I think there's progress being made, but I'm not quite sure that you get the gravity of, what we're requesting. So, if I
Yeah,
can just kind of get your feedback.
Yeah, I'd have to counter that. I'm the developer. I own the business. I have a Massachusetts licensed construction supervisor on site at all times during construction. Because I'm not there personally doesn't mean, representation of my company's not there. I run a, pretty large construction company. So being on site all day it's not feasible for me, but I do have and have had a construction supervisor on site every single moment anyone's been on that site. So I need to make that clear that we're not just leaving this site unattended. I've had people working on this site constantly. There hasn't been a day where there hasn't been anybody on this site. We changed site contractors from the previous contractor, and we've been ramping up ever since then, adding machines, adding people every day. In regards to the progress, obviously the month of January will go down probably as the hardest month of construction I've dealt with and been involved in. It pretty much was just management of stormwater. With the high temps, the freeze thaws, and the excess amount of rain that we've had, we pretty much just had to manage the stormwater on the site. That being said, with the good weather that we've had over the past 2 weeks, we've had a tremendous amount of progress on the site. All the, to go back on those new stockpiles, Kim, that you mentioned, those are all the old berms that were making the temporary storage ponds from down below. We pulled all that material out and just over the last week and stockpiled it up top because that was all just saturated material. We dug everything down for pond number 20 to prep for all the retaining walls. So that's what all that material came out for. I'll certainly go to the site tomorrow and make sure that is stabilized. I thought that our guys put mulch berms around that, but I'll check that again. But that is new material. Everything along the lower basin of 20 has been prepped for the retaining walls. The one of two retaining walls is constructed, and the second retaining wall is being built as we speak, which will be done by Thursday. With those retaining walls built, that's a huge accomplishment for us because it allows us to have support to build the actual pond, which is going to be starting to be rough shape Thursday afternoon. So by the end of the week, we should have that lower basin pretty much rough shape. And that's going to be a huge accomplishment. It's the low point of the site and is going to certainly alleviate a lot of the stormwater. We're also in the process of building pond number 20, number 20, which is uphill. And that's allowing us to have some more temporary storage if we need to pump any water from lower areas up. But we've had a lot of progress over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of, me not being out there. Not taking this seriously is not. It's definitely not been the way I've been managing this project, and I need to make that clear.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. You're not taking it seriously. I think the message that we just want to get to you is that, we just need to take care of this kind of post haste, get on it. As Kim mentioned,
we had, the day, so the night of, we can't dewater at night. We had built a new temporary storage pond that Kim had shown some photos. We can't dewater at night. And that night we had about an inch of rain. That pond overflowed and it found an unforeseen weak spot in the fence. So we have a internal inspection protocol that my super does every day. He walks the site, 2-3 times a day, every morning and every afternoon. 7 a.m. the next day, he walked the site, found that small breach that occurred that night. We have a stockpile of hay bales that's up by a road on Lincoln Street. We immediately stuffed it with hay bales. Anywhere there was other water leaking out, we immediately stuffed it with hay bales. So we're all over this thing, and it's our main priority. We can't, we're giving it as much attention as we possibly can. Following that, I also had, Goddard Consulting, who's now been contracted by us to kind of oversee all the operations out there in regards to the erosion control and all the measures. So they came out, after that day that Karen referred to. We had him, Andrew from Goddard, come out to kind of do a recap of the systems out there. So I have Andrew here. Andrew, do you want to give a quick recap? I know he submitted a report to the town and also a mitigation plan. Andrew, I don't know if you want to kind of touch base on that finding and kind of the way we've been dealing with stuff out there.
Yeah, Andrew, if you can just kind of give us a quick overview. I think, Kim had mentioned that, she did receive a report from Goddard, but go ahead. Just briefly.
Absolutely. I'll keep it brief for you. So after the January 26th letter, I went out there on January 30th to inspect all of the areas called out in Kim's letter. So that was the original sediment plume, the areas of turbid water, as well as the second breach where she had some photos shared of some sediment deposits. So we measured everything. We took GPS points and we mapped them out. There's two main breaches that were any concern. One of them was outside of the buffer zone entirely. And that's the photos you guys saw of the crew already cleaning up. So I took photos of what was already cleaned up. The only recommendation in that area is it may need a seed mix in the spring. So we're going to come out during the growing season early on. And if it needs a conservation seed mix to restabilize the soils, we'll do so. And then because the original plume back in December had reached into the wetlands a ways, we outlined a protocol to clean that just to get approved by you guys. It's to hand remove using only shovels and rakes, take it in the buckets, take it off site, and seed it with a conservation seed mix in the spring. So the other areas of sediment and turbid water, we took a look at, we took measurements, nothing else measured anything close to a 1/4 inch. So we weren't concerned about those areas. We documented all the hay bales that were added. It looks like the crew on site jumped on things right away and stabilized the area before anything was of too much concern. So at this point, yeah, as Kim's showing here, so we have them all mapped out with plans to monitor and clean up each one.
Okay, great. Thank you, Andrew. Okay, so we'll defer to Kim and Anna on monitoring, the activities that you guys are doing in the springtime. I'll just open it up to questions and comments from commission members at this point.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Go ahead, Ed. Yes.
I walked the site with Kim and Anna, their previous walkthrough. This is an extraordinarily challenging site that, despite attempts to rein it in, was like, it's like the horse is already out of the barn. And I know that Kim and Anna pointed out a number of issues with silt fencing and things like that that was not done quite correctly. I'll leave it at that. I've had experience with this once before in my backyard with another development in similar situations on a steep grade, loose soil, yada, yada, yada. I was very dismayed, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Other comments from the commission?
Through the chairs, Ted, I just have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
I appreciate all the work that's being done on the heavier lifting items, the basins, the walls. How is it that 5 or 6 weeks after the initial violation, we still have that much exposed dirt? I'm not a contractor, but I have mulched my gardens. Why can't we get mulch on all of that 6 weeks after the initial violation?
Which areas? We have mulch.
All of the ones that are still, all the
we
ones
have-
that are still orange on Kim's map.
All the areas that we have mulched are the areas that needed to be stabilized. That area right there is all in construction. That's all under pond. We're not going to mulch an area to go back a week later and build a pond there.
Through the chair,
The areas that are open are everywhere that we're working in construction.
Yes, go
Anywhere-
ahead, Kim.
this area hasn't been touched since the original violation.
Yeah, that is all pond area. It's also 1,000 feet from the wetlands. We're doing our best to focus on the areas down below, and Kim, I think you've made it pretty clear that that's where all of our focus needs to be, and that's where we
Right.
focus all of our resources.
But the stabilization efforts everywhere that you can stabilize on the site collectively is going to improve the water quality that's going down towards those lower ponds and slow the water down and increase the rate of absorption, infiltration, instead of running off and creating more erosion. So I think that's kind of the point that we're trying to hammer home is all of the small areas that you can stabilize really together make a big difference cumulatively.
And if I may, if I understand, as long as there is a cease and desist, none of that will be built on. So it's sitting there ready for the next rain to wash more sediment away. My guess is the type of mulch that we're looking for is not the same as land sculpting mulch, and it's not even a big cost concern. So I
No,
find it a little surprising that we have that much still exposed dirt this long after the initial violation.
The cease and desist excludes anywhere there's stormwater basins. That area along the back of lots 1 and 2 is is a stormwater basin. So that's in our scope of work, and our full intention is to build all the ponds to completion.
I
We don't have
think-
anticipation of leaving that open.
Yeah, so that, got it, Mr. Pearl, that makes sense, but I think to Kim's point and to Ted's point, we still have exposed soil areas that are, unvegetated and loose. It's bare ground. And if there's another rainstorm, we're coming into the spring here where there can be significant, rain events and precipitation events. Where, if this isn't stabilized, it's gonna, it could exasperate the situation at the site, right? So
Yep.
I think it's a recommendation to you.
Yep, I
We
hear you
have, we
guys.
have fines that have been assessed for the first incident. Kim hasn't tallied the fines for the second incident. We're gonna hold those in abeyance for the time being, pending approval by the other commission members. But, I think the point is that Kim is making is, the site needs to be stabilized all around, not just in the down gradient areas.
Jeff,
Does that make
Jim.
sense? Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
can I just say, it's the applicant's, developer's responsibility to stabilize the site during construction. And now that there is a cease and desist, they should be out there completing all of that stormwater work. And by the way, I don't care if it's Jim's first development company or Turner Construction. You're responsible for everything that goes on at that site, for every contractor, for every subcontractor, for your CM, and everybody else. This got out of control with nobody responding to it until it was discovered. And the others are right. It's now been several weeks since you've been alerted to it, and it is still unstabilized. And you can stabilize with any number of things. That's it. I'm out. Oh, wait. Can I say one more thing, Jeff?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
This is an instance where when we issue an order to cease and desist and we assess fines, that we should not just keep those fines in abeyance until the applicant completes the work and then release those monies. But this is a case where we should actually fine an applicant, a developer, and collect those fines, not give them back when they're done doing what they're supposed to do 3 months from now. All right, now I'm out.
All right, thanks, Jim. So Mr. Perot, we don't want to discount, you've made good progress here.
I'm
you know,
willing to
and-
walk any of the members through the site to show the progress. I think I've only seen Ed come out, more than willing to walk people through. I can't stress that we've had some tremendous progress on the
Yeah,
site.
and we don't, so hold on a second. We don't disagree with that. We got to move on here. We don't disagree with that. There's more work that needs to be done. I think, you've heard that from the commission and from Kim.
Yeah, I
So-
just wanted to make the point that, we're putting as many resources as we can, and we have a very small window of time with the weather to build basin 16 and 20. They're at the low point of the project. That is the most important thing. So every man I have is in that area. I do not want people to feel like I've neglected the uphill areas that are unstabilized. I've just put every resource I have down in the lower areas so that we could get those permanent structures built, because that is where all the water flows to. That is the most important thing. And Kim's
Okay.
made that clear, so I just want to make that known.
Yeah, we got it. Okay, great. All right, we thank you for working with us on this. We look forward to your continued, work to get the rest of the site stabilized. And Kim, did you have any closing thoughts or comments?
Nope, just that the EPA SWIP construction general permit, the way that it's written, it requires temporary stabilization for any construction area that isn't being used for 14 days, so 2 weeks. So, it's been a month and a week since we've discovered the first violation, we need to get this stormwater infrastructure in place, and or we need to do more stabilization.
And stabilization while it's being constructed.
Okay,
Through
all
the
right, thank you,
chair,
Kim.
the
Yes,
chair.
Ed.
I look at this as a platoon is on this job and we need a brigade. There's just insufficient bodies there to do what needs to be done in the time it needs to be done.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Pro, so we'll move on. I think you heard the comments from the commission, and we look forward to, continuing to work with you on getting this site stabilized. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to the new hearings. 59 Mott Street LLC, 56 Downey Street. A request for determination of applicability for a deck replacement and lawn expansion. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, February 7th at 7, virtually online. Hear all persons interested, request for determination of applicability filed by Rakesh Goel, 59 Mott Street LLC, to raise and replace a deck. And for lawn expansion, location is 56 Downey Street, assessors map, lot 37, block 1, lot 0. Okay, do we have the applicant on the line? Or a
Yes. Yes, sorry. Good evening, Maureen Harold, Norris Environmental Services.
Good evening,
and-
Ms. Harold.
Hi. And with me tonight, I believe, is the applicant, Mr. Rakesh Goel.
Okay.
So we filed a request for determination with the commission to raise a deck, construct a new deck, and seed within the 100-foot buffer zone for construction of a new dwelling located outside the 100-foot buffer zone, as well as planting 8 trees along the northerly and southerly property line as well. The commission may recall this project. It was subject to violations, I believe it was last fall, for removal of trees. Apparently, some of the trees were allowed to be removed, but not all of them were allowed to be removed. And as a result, the commission requested 8 tree plantings. So we included that on the plan as well.
Okay. All right, so are the circles there in the northern property boundary your proposed locations?
That's correct. 6 trees on the
And on the
northerly.
southern, yep. Sorry,
And-
go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. 6 trees on the northerly property line and 2 trees on the southerly property line.
Okay, and we have the proposed deck, which is, looks like it's encroaching on the 100-foot buffer zone by a few feet, but that's previously disturbed area.
That's correct. There's an existing deck in that location as well.
Okay. All right, Kim, do we have we have some pictures here of the property. And I think the commission members are familiar with the enforcement restoration order that was put in place in December. Kim, do we have the kind of the schematic of, what we're looking for in terms of buffer zone enhancement along the lake for situations like this? So, we appreciate the location of the trees that the applicant has presented along the kind of northern and southern property boundaries. But as a commission, what we have been really focusing on the past, couple of years is enhancing the buffer between the lakefront area and the lawn area. So it's typically between like 30 and 40 feet. It's really intended to prevent, sedimentations, to provide soil stabilization and to provide habitat enhancement, along the lakefront area within the buffer zone. So this is a rendition of, what the commission is looking for. So I'll open up to other commission members for their questions and comments at this point.
Yeah, just Jim, I just want to say that, yes, that is a good thing we are doing, and I love this transition.
Yeah, I'll chime in as well. I'd much prefer to see the trees closer to or some plantings closer to the lake rather than just along the edge of the property line.
Through the chair, this is Ted. Given the tours we had of the lake, I wish we could see more yards that look like the one that Kim is showing us now, and not the ones that have sweeping green manicured lawn all the way to the lake edge. I think that what I see in front of me is what would do a better job of protecting the lake than what too many of the properties are doing. My only beef with that one is it looks like there's lawn right at the lake edge, according to the coloring, and I don't know that I'd be a fan of that. But otherwise, the trees, the curvy path that is stone, not paved, the unmowed areas, all of that is what I'd like to see every home along the lakefront to have if we had that power.
This is Jim. I agree, Ted. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, absolutely. This is the goal that we should have. And it would be far more protective of the lake than what you described as the rolling lawns. And all the tree removal, existing tree removal.
Thank you, Jim. So, to Ted's point about some lawn area along the lake, I hear that. A lot of these existing properties on the lake have lawn area going right to lake edge. So I think this is kind of it's really, in my mind, working with the applicant to achieve, what we want to achieve as a commission, while also, providing them some, frontage and access and area on the property where they have the ability to put chairs or, whatever, close to the lake property, rather than having it, completely vegetated, if that makes sense.
And Jeff, not to go
It's a
back.
compromise, really, but.
Right,
yes,
right.
go
Not
ahead,
to go
Ted.
back and forth with you. I am completely happy to allow lake access. I just don't know that it needs to be grass right there. That could be a gravel, that could be pavers, something else. I just don't like that it's grass, but I absolutely want to allow residents to have access to the lake. I don't mean to suggest otherwise.
Thank you, Ted. So, Mrs. Farrell, any comments?
Chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed, sorry, go ahead.
The trees that are shown on I'll say the northerly and southerly boundaries. I'm curious what they are. The trees that are shown in this picture in front of us shows two big trees, which I would love to see like that. So I'm curious what their actual plans are.
Yeah, so this is a rendition, it's not, what we're requiring for the applicant to do. It's more of a kind of a model for them to work off of. So I think for this particular site, there were 8 trees that need to be replanted to compensate for the 4 mature trees that were removed that weren't permitted. So this is really just kind of a rendition of, what the commission is looking for. And it's really up to the applicant to work with his consultant on coming up with a similar design that, that could work for the commission.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
we're more than happy to relocate the trees as suggested by the commission this evening. And just to address Commissioner Lee, the trees will be native. I can certainly come up with a planting plan if the commission would like to see that, but any and all trees that we plant will be native to Massachusetts.
Yeah,
That would be great. If you can work with your applicant on coming up with a similar design. You can work with our commission on, native plantings that work. We have a list. And the applicant can go through that list and decide what they'd like, but that would be, that would work for us.
That's not a problem.
For the chair,
Yes, Kim.
I believe Joe had some comments. Wasn't sure if,
Oh, yes, Joe, sorry.
Okay, thought you might have forgotten me. No, I did get out to the site this morning to take a look. I just wanted to note there are some blue flags along the bank in the field, which are not indicated on the plan. It looks like on the plan that the buffer zone is drawn off of the land underwater line. So the buffer zone extends up gradient of that because it's from at least the bank, which is roughly where the retaining wall is shown. I also did observe both wetland vegetation and hydric soils extending quite a bit up gradient of the bank. Hydric soil, the ground was fairly frozen, but I was able to get some augers in. And I was getting hydric soils almost to, you see the two X's right next to the 50-foot buffer zone line. Just below those X's, I was getting hydric soil up into there. So it looks like the BVW at the site may extend significantly up gradient from the bank. I would recommend that that be looked at and assessed by the applicant and delineated. I also had some questions regarding what the intent was. I know it was just as far as just indicated by the commission what they're looking for access and use to the lake. I had some questions as far as what was actually being proposed because it wasn't described in detail in the application. The applicant was also requesting a waiver, and I don't know that they submitted a waiver form describing what the waiver would be. And one last thing, I did see a 2-inch black drain pipe coming down the northern, roughly property line to the lake, going up gradient to around the house area. I didn't know what that was connected to, and maybe the applicant has some information on that and what it's draining.
Okay. So I don't think we're expecting a response tonight. Ms. Harold, maybe you can regroup with the applicant and
May I provide somewhat of a response, Mr. Chairman?
sure.
In terms of the waiver request, there was some confusion on my part and I wasn't able to get in touch with the town, unfortunately, but essentially we just wanted to keep the existing lawn area where it is located on the property. And we're not proposing any additional removal of vegetation. There's some shrubby growth down by the retaining wall, which is shown on that plan as a thick, dark gray line area. In terms of the hydric soils, I know Lucas had noted it 45 feet up gradient. I didn't check it 45 feet up gradient. I do know that there was some lawn area in that location. just for the commission's history, this lot, as many of you know who have been out there, was primarily a camp. It was built in 1945. And like most lots that are on a lake, it was most likely historically filled at some point. That's certainly a result of the retaining wall along the lake. Ideally, what we would like to do is, if possible, keep the existing lawn area where it is. I can come back to the commission with plantings as suggested down near the lake and proceed with the project.
I think that's a good path going forward. Why don't you talk with your applicant? Come up with a similar schematic to what we presented earlier.
Okay.
Take a look at what Lucas's comments were, and we can regroup at our next meeting on the 28th.
Jeff, just Jim, let's have a question.
Yeah. Yep, go ahead, Jim.
So the applicant will submit a planting plan, a landscape plan. And by the way, just because we tell an applicant you need to put in a minimum of 4 trees, it's only a minimum of 4 trees. So the trees that you have, or the shrubs you have shown on the northerly and the southerly boundaries, you don't have to move those. You can add some more and still put those there. There's no
Okay.
limit. Okay.
Okay,
So
I
will there
understand.
be a planting plan?
I can certainly come up with a planting plan. We're just in an interesting scenario because the engineer who created this plan, I believe my client had mentioned they passed away. So that's why my client has marked up their plan. But I can certainly aid him in marking up the plan and showing, roughly. I think what I'd like to do is relocate some of the trees. Maybe we can add some shrubs in that area as well, down by the lake. I think that would look nice.
Well, it's
and
not
see if
about,
it's
it's not necessarily about looking nice. It's about, what's functional from a habitat standpoint.
Right, functionality.
Well,
Through the chair,
absolutely.
Yes, Kim.
is the commission looking for an evaluation of the hydric soils where the bank meets the
Yeah,
land? I'm sorry,
I think that was one of Lucas's comments, Kim. So yes, I think so. Thanks for clarifying that.
Jeff, may I ask a quick question?
Yes, go ahead, Ted.
I know that we're hoping to see a more detailed plan next time, but I'm just curious, where is the understood edge of the current lawn? Because I can't see any in the photos. And I'm just curious where we're likely to see that edge drawn later on.
Well,
Through
there
the
was,
chair.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kim.
I think it might be a combination of all of us kind of chiming in, Maureen. That's the $1 million question, Ted. So this site, definitely was a single family home camp, as Maureen had described, and was kind of left derelict a little bit. You could tell, like the first time that I was out there to evaluate the trees, you could tell that there was a lawn. It had just been let go for a little bit. As far down as towards these trees, there was a little bench. It was clearly like a manicured area. As you get down closer to the retaining wall, there's definitely 5 to 10 feet of area that's got shrubby wetland stuff that Joe described, like elderberry, sweet pepper bush. I'm suspicious that those shrubs grew up because the property was abandoned for a period of time. So it's really it would be difficult to go out there and definitively say this is exactly where the edge was. But I can tell you that there was lawn at some point. The question is, how close to the edge of the lake did it actually go?
Okay. Thank you.
Have anything to add to that?
Can I ask something? This is Rakesh.
Yes, Rakesh, go ahead.
So basically what I'm asking is to replace the existing deck and place a new deck over there. And I do not care about the lawn being like putting something in there except for the trees. That's what it is. I would leave the existing lawn as is. I'll do nothing except for putting in the trees. And the deck is, I'm not even moving the deck from where it is already existing.
Okay, well, why don't we have you?
So I
you
mean,
know,
like if we have to like loom and seed the lawn, I would take that away. And let
Okay,
it be like,
we have you regroup with her. And then we can, on the 28th, come back and discuss it further. Yeah, we got to move on. We have other items on the agenda tonight. Okay,
okay. But I was trying to withdraw that and I was trying to get my project started.
I understand that, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, Prasad, 7 Wayland
Chair?
Road.
Yeah, the other issue though is,
Sorry, could you vote to continue that?
Yes, sorry. If I get a motion to continue the hearing to February 28th for 56 Downey Street.
That'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second.
and the roll call, Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
All right,
and I'm an aye. All right, Prasad, 7 Wayland Road. This is a continuation of a notice of intent for an addition. Do we have the applicant on the call?
Mr. Chair, this is Abhishek. I've got Joe Markwood on here who will help us walk through the updates from last time.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir. Mr. Markwood, good evening.
Evening all. Thought I'd just take a second to bring the group up to speed on what we've been up to since we met last. Looks like we're twisting the screen. So we have revised the plan based on what we heard from the commission last time. I'll start at the rear since it's focused right in the center of the screen. We heard that there was a concern about the amount of mitigation in that area that Joe Orzel had identified as potential wetlands. So we have gone back and added to the plan some protocols for reclaiming that area, and then have introduced a number of shrubs in addition to the original 5 that we had. We took a look at the guidance that DEP has put out with regard to the type of species, the spacing, those sorts of things. And this is kind of in line with where DEP is at. We're 8 to 10 foot on center of those shrubs. We've identified 3 main species that we think will function well in that area, and are talking about seeding with wetlands plants, wet mix in the areas around the planting. There's protocols for roughening that area. There's not a lot of lawn there. It's very sparse in difficult condition, but we thought we'd roughen and till that area, then introduce the plantings and the seed mix. We've also identified or re-reviewed and identified a couple of areas that we could perhaps add a little bit more to mitigate some of the concerns expressed last time. In the northwest corner on this plan, out by Wayland Road, Abhishek is willing to add 3 new plantings there to offset the pine trees that we are proposing to take out. We've had, as you know, we had some plantings proposed for the front. We had Mark Mazer of Monster Tree come back out and take a look. Although he is not an arborist, he has a great deal of experience in his line of work. He took a re-review of the site, put together a sketch I thought was very helpful, where he reviewed the shortcomings or the concerns at the northwest corner with the size of those trees and the not the likelihood, but the potential for the large canopy up top to make them unstable. He re-reviewed the area to the south and southwest against Wayland Road, identified a couple of trees that are dead, a couple that have lost a great deal of their canopy, and one that is in good shape and we're going to retain. I guess the idea is that we have heard the commission's concerns. There are still safety concerns. There are still concerns that Abhishek has regarding the pine trees and his daughter. But we are working to kind of put together something that we feel is more in line with where the commission was discussing things last time. And we feel that this proposal has a lot of merit to it, and would like to take the opportunity to answer any questions you have about it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marquardt. So just a couple things to, and thank you for that presentation. That was great. We understand, that the applicant is concerned about trees close to the house and the potential for those, potentially impacting, during a storm, and the issues with, his daughter's allergies. So there are two things that I wanted to just throw out to the commission for consideration. One is, Mr. Mazur is not a certified arborist. So I think at the last meeting that we had requested, that a certified arborist come out and do the assessment. So that was point number one. Number two is the substitution of, removing mature trees. I think the kind of the standard that the commission uses is if mature trees are cut down or removed, either permitted or non-permitted, we require at least 2 new trees to be put in place as a substitute. I'm not sure if 2 shrubs is sufficient to replace a mature tree being removed, but that was my other point, and I'll just throw that out to commission members for your comments.
Through the chair, Jeff?
Yes.
I just want to underscore what you said about a certified arborist. I think it would be establishing a very bad precedent to accept non-certified arborists, just a tree removal service, giving us expert opinion on trees. It is quite possible that, I forget the name of this business, that they're all completely on the up and up. It's quite possible that a certified arborist would come to exactly the same conclusions. I don't want to open up a precedent that someone who makes money by chopping down trees is telling us what trees need to be chopped down.
Thank you.
Through
the chair, I agree. It seems to be a little conflict of interest by having the tree service evaluate the trees.
Thanks,
Through the
Janine.
chair, this is Ed, just echoing what Ted had and Janine had to say.
Okay.
To the chair, this is Abhishek.
Yes, sir.
So this is the 3rd meeting that I've been back at. Every single time the commission has a recommendation, I go back, I work with the planner, I come back with an update. Right? At what point, can I expect the commission to kind of help work? I'm a single family homeowner. I'm not a big developer. I'm not Toll Brothers down Wayland Road and Chamberlain Street, chopping down a whole forest. So at what point, for the past 3 meetings, every time I've come back and said, all right, can I do this? All right, the wetland consultant that you guys hired, the guy that I hired, there was a discrepancy. I went back, I resized the addition that I was going to build. I come back with the suggestion of, okay, there appears some past owner 10 years ago, there's something in the back near the wetland. I will come back and I will revegetate that. I will come back and I will replant some of the trees, some shrubs. You want a native, we're going to do native trees. So at what point, Mr. Chairman, can I expect the commission to work with me as an applicant
Well,
to help me move forward? Because I'm struggling.
I can understand your frustration, but I think we made it clear at the last meeting that we needed to have the assessment done by a certified arborist. Did you not understand that?
No, I did understand. I've reached out to. a
Okay,
couple of
so hold on. So we made that point and you came back with a report from someone who's not a certified arborist. So I guess, you know, how do you reconcile that?
Because I'm struggling. The company, Monster Tree, they're
not a certified arborist.
I understand that, but the company itself is part of the ISA. I've reached out to Sean Gallagher, who, according to Kim's email,
I think Kim has reached out to you and gave you a list of certified arborists in the Hopkinton area that you could reach out to.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Before even Kim could reach out to me with a list, I've already found the arborist in
But
Milford.
it's not an
and
arborist.
Bellingham. I understand.
But it's not an arborist.
This
So-
Mark Mazur is not an arborist. So again, what I'm struggling with is every single time the commission keeps getting hung up over that. And I'm trying to work everything else. And I've spent $6,500 to get to this point. And now the commission is expecting me to spend even more money to go get an arborist who is tied to another tree company who I will not give business to and pay more money out of my pocket. I mean, at what point do we, come to a middle
So I
ground?
think, so I think if you had reached out to a certified arborist and not had contracted Mr. Mazur, who is not a certified arborist, you would have saved yourself some money from that perspective. But there's two other applicants tonight who want trees removed on their property, who have hired a certified arborist to give us an opinion. So what precedent does it set for other applicants who have gone out and done the right thing if we come to you and just say, okay, we'll take a pass on this, we'll just accept this and,
I understand that, Mr. Chairman. I completely understand that. This is my
okay, so
first meeting.
so from our perspective, what do you suggest, I guess? is
So
my question.
if the 100-foot tall pine tree falls on my house, does the commission want to take on the liability of the damage to my house and my family? Or do you want a certified arborist to sign a letter saying that it's okay to take that tree down because it's a risk to my house?
Jeff, can I make a comment?
Yes, go ahead, Melissa.
I think as a commission, our policy is to offer the applicant in these situations two options. One is if the tree is dead or they think it is, then the arborist can make the determination and they can take down the tree without having it replaced. If you want to take down the tree, regardless of whether it's dead or diseased, if it's just a healthy tree, you can do that if two others are planted because it's being taken down. I think that's the commission's policy and what we've that's our policy.
Yeah, and I'll just add on to that, Melissa. We give Kim and Anna the authority to go out and look at these trees initially. And, if the trees are visibly diseased and dead, you don't even need to come before the commission. Okay, they can give you the authority to remove the trees. In this case, sir, okay, these trees are healthy trees. And I understand, yes, you have a concern. They're close to your house. They could potentially fall down. Okay. But, we have our administration, Kim and Ann have gone out to the site. They've looked at it. The trees look healthy to us. So, and they're in the buffer zone. So if you would like to remove the trees, we want a certified arborist to give us an opinion that they need to be removed. I mean, it's as simple as that. I don't know what else to tell you, sir.
I'm struggling, to be honest, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
This is the third meeting.
I don't
but
know, I don't know
what-
what else to tell you. I think it's pretty straightforward. You know, I don't know what you're struggling with.
I'm offering you the trees. And you're saying that you still need a certified arborist to sign off on a letter?
Well, we're not still saying it. We said that at the last meeting. You
Right.
know, you had someone give an opinion, but it wasn't a certified arborist. I mean, what, I don't understand where the disconnect is there.
Well,
What don't you understand?
I understand that every time I come back and offer you the healthy, because instead of the healthy trees, we're offering to plant
Right?
some native
But at the
trees.
last meeting, we said a certified, and I'm only gonna say this one more time and then we have to move on, okay? At the last meeting, we asked that a certified arborist go to the site and provide us with an opinion on whether the trees pose a threat and should be removed.
Okay.
You had an opinion put together, but it wasn't a certified arborist.
So the town, what I'm hearing is the town would have taken ownership had those trees fallen down on my house during this
No,
storm.
that's not what you're hearing.
Right, well,
What you're hearing is that you didn't have a certified arborist provide an opinion to the commission. So we can't make an assessment of the request.
okay, thank you.
Okay, have a good evening. Okay. So moving along,
Through the chair,
yes.
just the vote to continue, please.
Yeah, if we can get a motion to continue 7 Whalen Road. Wait, was it 7 Whalen Road, Kim? Sorry, yeah. The continuation of the addition for the notice of intent.
I'll make that motion, Jeff.
And a second, please.
This is Ed.
And the roll call, Melissa,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye. Aye.
and I'm an aye. All
I
right.
think you skipped me. I'm an I too, though.
Oh, sorry, Carrie. All right, laborers training. Mr. Connors,
Hello,
good evening, sir.
hi. Can I share a screen, please?
You may.
Like to do is start with a introduction relative to alternative 4, which goes all the way down Clinton Street. We've had some surveyors come in and run a survey down Clinton Street from the terminus of the first segment, which is just up off of Blood 86 here, the abutter. As you remember, there's a little bit of an area to the left of that that had a couple of small little depressions, and we were going into the project on alternative 1 and then along in back of these properties. Based on our last meeting, we talked about alternative 4. It was really very conceptual at the time. It's been looked at a lot more detail based on a new survey that comes down along Clinton Street to the location of the aforementioned little trail that goes through the woods. You hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is Clinton Street, and this is that segment that comes in. I'm going to go to yet one more that's a little bit more detailed. And here we have it. The pond is right over here, or your building. We have some parking here. So this comes out into the campus proper at this location, just above the existing first bridge that was ever on the site. And if go to Clinton Street, we come in along here. There's a little bit of a cart path you can see. Let me increase the size of So there's a trail, it comes in along here. It kind of goes off the property and continues back on, a couple of loops and dips in it. And we have laid out an area of a gas line that could go through there in an area where we have some trees that would need to be cut. Located each one of the trees along that route and some along either side of it. Down to the trying to move this. Down to where it then goes into the
campus.
Yeah, I've got your pictures all in front of me in the thing. Anyway,
I think you need to maybe scroll down on the right-hand side.
all right, so I have all your pictures. You know, but I don't know why that won't move. Let's check. So anyway, we come along where the trail is, and we plotted the gas line that would come through here, showing it generally following the trail for the most of the way. And then it comes out into the site here. The last drawing, no, another one over here. I'm going to go to. This is one that I've taken and I've actually blown it up for the area in question as to where we're working. So now the campus is right here. There's an area in here. I don't know if you see it's colored red. That's in the buffer zone, the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone. Then there's an area along here. Increase that a little more. An area along here that comes up to the wetland line that's at this location. The other side of the wetland is along this line here. That wetland complex, which I'd given you a picture of, I don't know, back in December, has about 1,235 square feet of impact area through that location. That there is the actual stream. It's quite a bit bigger than the stream on alternative 1. And that covers about 629 square feet. We also have a area along here that comes up to the 50-foot buffer, and then from there to the 100-foot buffer along in this direction here. So that particular section of alternative 4 goes through what you may recall on the photograph as a pretty substantial wetland versus the very, very small one on the alternative 1. There's some other issues with that, and I'd like to see if we have Tom Goyla, who has worked with Eversource on this, on the call to discuss the impacts of this particular one with Eversource with respect to timing. Tom, are you available to talk?
Yes, I am, George. I'm here.
Okay, would you?
Okay, so just to clarify, Tom, you're with Eversource?
No, I'm with Standard Builders. I'm a vice president, and I've been working in direct contact with Eversource to try to get the gas to the property.
Right.
Okay. So you're a representative of Eversource, is that correct?
No, I'm a representative of Standard Builders. We're the general contractors, construction managers who are working directly for Nelta to do the site improvements.
Right. So I understand you're with Direct Builders, but you're working with Eversource.
I'm in contact with Eversource. So basically, we have.
So what does that mean?
So we have a point. We have a point of contact from our company that talks with Eversource to get this project underway.
If I could clarify.
Yes.
My discussions have been with Eversource at the very beginning of this project, and since that particular point in time, Mr. Goyla has been dealing with Eversource directly because he would be the one that would hire and sign the contract to do the work on the project to bring the gas down. So he's got a direct contact as opposed to me simply repeating what I'm told. That help?
Okay, so so are you a project manager for I'm still not quite clear on the relationship here. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
And if I'm not, I mean, I'll Kim, am I off base here? I mean, are you getting this or? I'm just a bit confused what the
That's all right.
relationship.
So let me start again. So I'm a vice president for Standard Builders. We are
Got it.
construction managers, and we are under contract with Nelta to do these new buildings and the improvements that are underway. So my role in this project, I'm not a project manager. Mike Avicoli, who's on the call as well, he's a senior project manager for us. He's actually running the work and, you know, managing everybody that's on the site. But I'm helping with things like the gas, trying to make sure that we have coordination and a chain of communication with Eversource, and that's the part where I'm helping.
Okay. All right. Got it. Thank you. And
So I think
I apologize for the confusion. Just want to make sure we're clear on everyone's role here.
it's not a problem. So I think what George was trying to say is that we're kind of, it's difficult to explain the schedule impact of this new route. And I think that's what George was looking for me to help with. Basically, the first time we contacted Eversource when we started the project was back in March of last year, March 1st to be exact. And it took us until 11/1 of 22, about 9 months, to get to the point where we had an agreement of which route and how much it was going to cost to Nelta. So the point being was that if we start a new route with Eversource, they have told us to expect about another 6 to 9 months to get off the ground again and start again. So because of this delay, if we go back to a new route, it's basically going to cause other financial hardships with Nelta, meaning, as an example, we won't have natural gas to the facility this coming fall for heating season in 23. We'll have to bring in propane, bring in tanks, bring in pads, plumbing, and everything else to convert all the systems to propane. And then when the gas does come, if it comes, then we'd have to switch it back again. So I think that's what George was looking for me to help you guys understand the delay this is going to impact if we go to a different route. That's pretty much it. George, unless I've missed something, George.
No, I'd just like to have you confirm that the cost we have projected.
Okay, we got it. Yep.
$970,000 as a payment to Eversource, and then another $365,000 internal for the work that we need to deal with the changing out of the system, putting in the propane and things of that nature. So it's about another million.
And I think we mentioned, you know, in previous meetings that, you know, the financial implications of a project aren't really, you know, we don't consider those when we're evaluating projects. But, you know, we heard you, and go ahead and continue.
Okay, and I had also sent in, prior to this particular map and analysis, a response to some of the stuff that was discussed at the previous hearing, sort of to bring it into perspective. The picture that was shown before was of a Tennessee gas pipeline out at Legacy Farm, which was in a 50-foot easement, but actually it was cut much wider than that from previously when I think it was nursery was up there and had a wider area. Our gas line is going to be 10 feet wide when we're finished. As you know, the reports and information we put in have shown that we will plant trees and shrubs and do some invasive management along our preferred Route 1. And there was indication that we would have a deleterious effect on the housing next to a gas line. And I think we've demonstrated, based on some low information on the sales of those values of those houses, that won't be the case. It's a fairly small trek through the woods. There are some large trees. We will be taking them down, but we will be planting.
We're talking about the original route now, correct?
Yes, correct. So we really, for all the reasons stated in that, and not to get to the point where we're arguing back and forth all the time, I think that rebuttal would serve its purpose. The project and the way the laborers handle the property, and that particular section of property was bought back in I think it was 94, 96. It has literally no available land for building anything of any particular size, or it's basically going to be open space for the foreseeable, the rest of the time. It's got two wetland complexes that run through it. They're small, fairly shallow wetland complexes. They run north to south, connect into the Cold Springs Brook. We have a community water supply over on that particular piece. It's about 35 or 6 acres. And it was basically acquired to protect the laborers from the abutters and leave that basically as something that they don't disturb people with.
Okay,
And
okay.
I think that for all those reasons, we really would like to get this preferred route approved.
Got it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Connors. So there was a letter that you submitted to the commission recently talking about mitigation outside the riverfront area. So there was a portion of the gas line was originally proposed to be within riverfront. That has been moved outside of the riverfront area. Is that correct?
Yeah, can I go to that drawing? Thank you. I forgot. Okay. Too old to do this. All right, so if you recall, we had a discussion on the land that has already been disturbed as roads and things under the riverfront 1050, 310, 1058.
This is on the campus, just
On the campus.
So for everyone's context here.
So what happened is we were coming out from that Route 1 or the alternate one beside what we call the Maloney Building up at the top of the hill, the furthest northerly building. That's a kind of our maintenance area up there. This is a classroom, by the way. And then we were going to come through here and we were going to cut cross country right through here and connect in. We've eliminated that leg and we've run it down the driveway. This is a paved driveway and this gravel driveway around the pond. So now that particular leg of the gas line, which went through a wooded area here, has been removed and into areas that have been previously disturbed and would meet 1058, 310 CMR 1058 as previously disturbed and would not impact anything.
Okay.
I hope that helps.
Okay, great. Thank you. So the other question I had for you, Mr. Connors, is when this was originally proposed, there were staging areas within buffer zones. Have those all been moved outside of the buffer zone?
We've moved them to the maximum extent practicable, if you like that term. I don't have that drawing up, but we did go through that a couple of meetings ago. For the most part, they are out, although not completely out. I wish I had that drawing. Maybe I can find it if you give me a minute.
Yep, I think that would be helpful for the commission. Kim, I don't know if you have it readily available. There were 2 staging areas originally proposed in buffer zone. Is that correct?
I think there were. When I start playing with this computer and get lost.
The chair, I think I have the most recent gas line plans, if I can have the screen back.
Yeah, can Kim have the screen back, Mr. Connors? It might be easier to have her.
I actually have it up now. Unless she wants to do it, I'm happy to let her.
All right, we'll give you another minute here to see if we can.
So here is our staging. Let me increase it. Here is our staging area there. You can see the green line just because.
But can you increase the? Okay, I'm gonna scroll to the left. Yeah, okay. All right.
That's our staging area there. This one is out of it. That's half in, half out.
So can that be moved why can't that be moved all the way outside the buffer zone there?
I would agree to that.
Okay.
And
And then
the
there was
is
another
out.
one. So that one can be completely outside the buffer zone.
Yeah, I guess we are basically there. This one is essentially completely out. And that was our last one.
All right, I'm not, we can't see that on the screen. There were two of them.
I gave you the second one.
We can't see it.
Second one
though.
again.
Okay.
You see the second one there?
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
And then another
So,
one. That's out.
hold on. Can you go back, please?
Back?
Yeah, go back to that second staging area.
Yeah.
There's the 100-foot. Okay, it looks like that one's completely out, Kim, correct? Yep, okay.
Good.
Yep, we're good there.
And then a little bit further on is this one, which is basically completely out.
Okay. So
And
there
that was the end of it.
Okay, so those three.
Uh,
Okay,
Through the chair, it does look like there's another one in the buffer just on the other side of the crossing.
We eliminated that. I believe we did. Yeah, we eliminated that.
this one, yeah,
We
right
have-
here. So that's going away.
Which one?
The one between the 50 and 100-foot buffer. Nope, go to the right. Down, go down to the left, to the building, right
Yeah.
there.
Ooh.
What's
Oh,
up?
yeah, no, you know why that, that's there because we're gonna be doing the crossing there, so we wanted to be on both sides. And an area to stockpile soil. But if you look at that topography, it's very, very flat, and outside of it, it's fairly steep. So that's the reason that's in there.
What's there now, though? Is that trees that need to be removed, or is that?
Yeah,
what's the-
it's wooded in there. In
All right,
other
so
words,
why can't that be moved outside the 100-foot to the south, west?
Right.
Up,
Right.
either there or north of that, or not north, but, west of that. Right?
This way. See the steep slope
Yeah, but I'm talking, so
over here?
outside, yeah, up in that area. Why
Oh.
can't it be up there?
Well, we had it fairly close to the crossing, but I suppose we can move the material from the crossing over there and back.
Yeah, so if we
I'm
can,
saying-
so if we can move that outside the 100-foot buffer to the area generally where the arrow is.
Sure.
What's up there? Is that all upland? Is that meadow?
No, that's all wooded.
That's all wooded, but it's not buffer. Okay.
Right.
So
We
let
were-
me,
We're
so that,
scooping soil out of that crossing in wetland. And we wanted to have it close by.
okay, so those are the three staging areas that we're talking about. So the first one can be moved out. The second
Yeah.
one is primarily out. The third one can be moved outside the 100-foot buffer.
It-
Um, And the last question I have is with regard to the corridor width for the line. You know, we talked 25, 30 feet. So that cannot be, most of that is outside of our jurisdiction, just for the commission's just from the commission standpoint, but you're saying that it can't be any narrower than 25 feet or 30 feet.
Well, I think I gave a pretty good presentation and diagrams or equipment specifications. We're gonna go through and dig a trench that's 3 or 4 feet wide and put some sand in it, and we have to come in and dump the sand in, then we have to fuse pipe sections together with high heat. And, soil's going to be on one side of the ditch and then the machinery's on the other side. When we come through there to take out the trees and the stumps, those stumps are going to be fairly big. Pine trees go out laterally a lot. So it's going to be quite an effort to get them out easily and actually handle them and bring them out to the street to dispose of them, get them off the site. I don't see that less than 25 feet makes any sense whatsoever.
Okay, all right, so, okay, got it. But there's a planting plan that is proposed. So when the gas line is put in, so when that corridor is removed, the gas line's put in place, you're gonna go back in, the applicant's gonna go back in and do replanting along the entire corridor, correct?
Yes.
And that planting plan has been provided?
I think Goddard has specified what would go in along that. We have a diagram on one of the sheets that is like a cross-section of what it would be. And we would be amenable to place 2 trees for every tree we take down.
Okay. All right, so I just have one more request. Thank you, Mr. Connors. So Joe, before we open it up to the commission for questions and comments and to the public, Joe, can you just give us an overview of the disturbance of buffer zone and resource area from the proposed route and, versus alternative 4, which is continuing down Clinton Street and going down the cart path?
Sure. And I did have some questions regarding the disturbance impacts that were presented in the previous impacts table that was submitted, particularly for alternative number 4, because it had indicated that there was no BVW alteration. But it looked like, based on some of the plans that there was BVW there. So I did go out and take a look at that and walk that route. And the revised impact table that has been provided, I believe today, does update those numbers and is reflective of what I observed in the field. So there's an existing cart path, which is for alternative 4, which is a minimum of 12 to 15 feet wide and wider in other locations, which that route would follow. It does come down to a fairly wide wetland, probably 45 to 50 feet wide before it would exit onto the campus drive. So there's BVW and a small stream that goes through that area. So the impact numbers that are presented in that most recent table appear appropriate for what I saw. Just to go over those numbers, the alternative 4 would impact roughly 1,235 square feet of BVW, and the preferred alternative would impact about 330 square feet of BVW. So there's significantly more BVW impact for alternative 4. Bank impact is similar, and there's also some small amount of bordering land type of the flooding impact associated with alternative 4, about 629 square feet. Don't know the cubic feet volume of that. As far as buffer zone impacts, I noticed that the recent table has some revised numbers, and I'll use those numbers. Total buffer zone impact for the preferred alternative is about 27,880 square feet. I'm sorry, 23,270 square feet on the new table, compared to about 5,945 square feet for alternative 4. So several times, 4 times roughly the buffer zone impact for the preferred alternative, And of that, the amount within 50 feet of the wetland is closer, approximately 4,000 square feet in the preferred alternative and about 2,300 square feet in the alternative 4. But the cross-country alternative is where the bulk of the, in the 50, the outer buffer zone is where the bulk of the disturbances in the preferred alternative. As far as tree numbers, although there's an existing cart path at the alternative 4 route, based on what was presented in the recent submittal, at least 31 trees would need to come down in that area. Whereas I think there was 95 trees proposed to come down in the preferred alternative. So about 3 times the number of trees in the preferred alternative. But getting back to the BVW impact, I think that's the major thing that needs to be considered, that there'd be significantly more BVW impact associated with the alternative number 4.
Okay. Thank you, Joe, for that
Yep.
summary. All right, I'll open it up to questions, comments from commission members at this point.
For the chair,
Yes, Kim.
George, could I just have the screen back?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Got it?
Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I just, for the purposes of the discussion, wanted to show the alternatives map that was produced by the applicant maybe a few meetings ago. So the alternative 4 that we're referring to is the alternative in which the gas line starts at Front Street, heads down Clinton Street, crosses Cold Spring Brook and the street, and then enters the laborers campus a little bit further down on the way. The preferred alternative is this alternative here, which is the cross-country route. It also crosses Cold Spring Brook internally to the campus site.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
The preferred alternative crosses the cross-country alternative and then crosses Cold Spring Brook internally to the campus via directional drilling, correct?
Oh, yeah, but yeah, down by the lower building. Yeah, down there.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So I think Kim was pointing out the preferred route versus alternative 4, which is what we've been discussing.
If I could just add that if we come in number 4, in order to get to the buildings over on the left side of the screen, we'd have to, again, directional drill underneath Cold Springs Brook, where our double box culvert is. Just so you know.
Mhm.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Questions, comments from the commission?
Jeff, I have a question. I
Yes.
looked for a planting plan earlier in the week, and I didn't see one. Is there one, Kim, in the drive that you can direct me to? A replanting plan or a planting plan along the routes?
There's a cross.
Go ahead.
There's a cross section on one of the sheets showing how it will be, and then the Goddard report details out plants and shrubs and trees, and also a second Goddard submission for invasives.
Yeah, there's a plant list, but is there a site plan that shows the planting proposed?
Not particularly where each and every one goes. It's across, yeah, okay, on the right-hand side of that line, you see that. So they'll be randomly planted. We wouldn't specifically say here.
Okay, would they be randomly planted on the, I guess would be the easterly side to provide, wildlife habitat and buffer between the residential lots and the proposed route?
Yeah, they would be on both sides.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, well,
Jeff, I have a question if I may, and maybe I should have done homework ahead of time, but hopefully somebody can help me.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to get a sense of what a 45 to 50-foot wetland crossing looks like. The only major wetland crossing I remember from recent hearings is the Chamberlain Wayland development. Could someone help me picture what we've talked about with regard to wetland crossings, and is 45 to 50 in keeping with what we permitted before? Is it bigger than what we've done? Can anyone on the commission or Kim help me with that?
Did have a photograph of where it was.
Yeah, through the chair, Ted. So I can pull up a photograph and I can also pull up the Chamberlain Whalen.
So relative size, right? So I think what Ted,
Yeah.
Right, I'm trying to understand
Yeah, I
what
can't
we've
answer
approved before.
I think it's a little, we're not quite comparing apples to apples though, right, Kim?
I don't think so either, because it's a road versus a pipe, but
Right, right. So it was a crossing versus, directional drilling below the crossing, right?
I understand that. I'm still just trying to get a sense of what 50 feet is versus what we've looked at.
Yep, yeah, okay. Just wanted to make that clarification.
No, thank you.
So through the chair, will the crossing with alternative 4 also be done with directional drilling?
No, neither one of them are proposed to be directional drilled.
So if it's going to be done with alternative 1, why couldn't it be done with alternative 4?
It's not being done with alternative 1. Alternative 1 is a smaller and mostly dry little stream bed. Directional drilling.
But is it directional drilling or is it stream crossing? Sorry.
It's a stream crossing. The directional drilling is underneath Cold Springs Brook, internal to the campus. There's a double box culvert that carries.
Okay, so okay, got it. So that my past comment was incorrect then. If we are comparing, we can compare an apple to apple with the crossing that's proposed to the Chamberlain Whalen.
Okay, I'm not sure about that.
Well, it's a stream crossing overland, right? So it's a culvert, not a culvert, but a
It's an underground pipe. We'll dig up a ditch through the wetland area.
Right.
Probably the small area. And then we will put it back as it was. So the soils will go back in typical layers of how they come out. We'll strip off the A and then the B and then.
Yeah. It's not quite apples to apples because it's not a driveway going over it, but it is a culvert.
So through the chair, the disturbance of 1,235 square feet of BVW on alternative 4 is just temporary.
Would be.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, Kim.
So here's a rendering of the Chamberlain Whalen crossing. And I'm looking at our order of conditions. It indicates 1,569 square feet of land under water bodies and waterways and 163 linear feet of bank. I'm suspicious that that also includes, I know that there was a stream restoration out here as well. I'm trying to kind of further dig.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty significant stream restoration too.
Yeah.
That's helpful to me. I don't want to take us too far away, but that's helpful to me a little bit. And as I think it was Janine a second ago points out, in this case, alternative 4, it would be largely restored to what it was before, although there would be that ultimately 10-foot wide cleared path still through the stream crossing.
Correct.
Right. But there wouldn't be paving. There wouldn't be all of the stuff that. Okay. That's helpful to me. Thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments from commission members?
Through the chair, this is Ed. I've got a question I'm trying to get my head around. So for the moment, I'll pass.
Okay, let me open it up to questions or comments from the public. And if you can raise your hand. There, I'm not seeing anyone with their hand raised. Okay.
Hello.
Yep. Yes.
Sorry, through the chair. I was
Yep,
raising
Mr.
my hand.
Secondra, is that you?
This is here, Suchandra and Gotham. We represent
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. Were you the one who was just speaking?
No, it was me. Sorry, it was David Fajardo.
Oh, David, why don't you go first and then we'll pick up Mr. Secondra after you. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. No
Yep.
problem. I'm always the first one to speak, but my apologies for that. But I don't want to share my screen. I think I've shared it a couple times already. I think looking at this, all of these alternatives, I think the alternative that disturbs everyone and everything and all the environment the least is the alternative 2, which is going down Clinton Street, down East Street. I think they talked about it a couple times. Mr. Connors did in terms of it, maybe disturbed 15 or whatever trees versus say 100 trees, and puts the utilities under the street the way sort of the world is meant to be in terms of development. I think that's the best proposal here. And I would say, I think Mr. Connors noted probably my images about the gas pipeline running through the yard. Again, I just reiterate that for the neighbors here, for us, it's a large chunk of our wealth that this is going to affect. And I would disagree very strongly with Mr. Connors saying that, it won't affect property values. He knows very well that it will, but I realize he has a job to do. I would just suggest to the committee that if this was your house, what would you do? And besides that, it's your town. You've seen what the development's done over at Legacy Farms and those type of images. I think they just make our town less attractive. They'll definitely make my property less attractive and less valuable. And the only alternative I've heard in terms of counter to that with Mr. Connors has constantly been the cost to the laborers, and now the length of time, which if they had moved to one of these other alternatives sooner, maybe they would have saved that time. And I don't think that's the purpose of this commission, to save them time or save them money. And I just would like to urge the commission to have them seek a different route besides the first one, and most likely, and with the least impact to the environment is alternative 2. So thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Brubacher, go ahead. Or excuse me, hold on a second. The gentleman who spoke up earlier.
Yeah, it was me, Gotham and Suchandra.
Okay, I'm scrolling through. Sorry, there's a lot of people on the call. Yes, Mr. Secondra, go ahead.
Not a problem. So we'll pass on this. We just wanted to bring this up, since in the interest of time, whether our case will be heard or not. So, but for now, there is no questions on this property currently on discussion from our side.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said there's no question on the property currently on discussion. I just wanted to bring up to the commission that, in the interest of time, whether our case will be heard or not today.
And we are representing 124 Lumber Street. Is that agenda item going to be discussed tonight?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all we wanted to check on.
We're not quite there yet. Okay, so
All right.
you just have
Thank
to hang
you.
in there. Okay,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brubacher, go ahead.
Yes, hi. I'm at 82 Clinton Street, and I would just go back to the table that was already mentioned, the cumulative impact table. And I really think that those numbers speak for themselves. This was already talked through, but when you look at the cumulative impact on the buffer zones the proposal of route number 1 is about 4 times greater in total impact. And then when you also take into account that we're talking, I believe, even in Mr. Connor's estimate of taking down 95 trees versus 31 trees to go if we went with alternative 4. So I'm just hoping the commission will weigh these and take a look at those differing impacts.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments from the public on this hearing? I don't see any hands raised, but
Through the chair, this is Ed.
yes, Ed, go ahead.
I sort of have my question here.
Okay.
And correct me if I misheard, but what I thought I heard was that it took 9 months for Eversource to come up with a plan for what I believe was a pre-selected choice from laborers, rather than coming to Concom and asking for our opinions on these alternatives. Did they come to us with just that one alternative? And that's why we're here right now.
Yes, I think they came to us with the preferred alternative, and then at the request of the commission had to come up with the alternatives analysis. Does that answer your question, Ed?
Yeah, but Ed's point's valid that if they had come with alternatives in the first place, obviously they wouldn't be where we are today, or wouldn't have taken this long to get here.
Right. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion. Yep.
Yes, and that's the essence of my thought. Thank you.
Got it.
Can I make a comment?
You may.
So maybe I just want to clarify the 9 months.
This is Mr. Giola.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah.
The 9 months that it took Eversource was basically their internal process from start to finish to an agreement. That's it. It really didn't have anything to do with the, kind of the routing or the environmental impact. It's just going through all their internal processes and working with us to get to an agreement.
Yeah, can I?
Thank you for that clarification. Yep, go ahead, Melissa.
I have a couple things. I guess just generally speaking, I think in looking at the alternatives and trying to formulate a decision here, and with all due respect to everyone's costs and property value and whatnot, I think we're not making this decision regardless. We're not making it based on the costs of the developer. We're not making it based on land values, home prices, what it looks like out my back window versus someone else's back window. We're not making decisions based on schedules unless that construction schedule affects the length of the project and therefore the timeline that things are actually under construction might impact resource areas. But as far as schedules, costs, property values, views, I think those are all outside of our decision-making range here. So in looking at the cumulative impact table, my question to that regard is just clarifying what the impacts actually are. I see the cross-country gas, which is the preferred alternative, and then the Clinton Street gas, which is all in the street, and the 0 square feet of impact. Can we clarify? I mean, I know that there's areas of the road that are within the buffer zone and riverfront area. Are these just quantifying permanent impacts? And is that the same for the cross-country gas? Is that square footage, the 8-foot wide swath that will be permanently changed? I'm just trying to make sure that in comparing the impacts to the resource area, looking at apples and apples.
So the discussion we had, I think the last meeting, was that River Zone is not impacted where it is already have a road or has been disturbed. So the initial numbers for all that was were based on your regulations. All whatever was side wherever the work was, and those numbers were fairly high. So it came to fruition last meeting that anything in disturbed didn't count. So that's part of the reason we changed the drawing there for the route in the campus area we talked about maybe 2 minutes ago. These are areas where we will be going through, and the total removal of trees is, for example, on the cross country, the total buffer 23,000. That gets restored down to an 8 or 10 foot wide path, the length of the gas line, gas service through there. So that number is what you're going to impact for construction. A year later or 2 years later, it would be restored, and that number would arguably go down to either the width of the easement by its the line by its length, or zero because it is stored to natural ground.
Okay. And then the other part, regardless of actual square footage, the Clinton Street gas alternative has one crossing within the roadway over Cold Spring Brook. That's one crossing that has to be constructed. And the cross country gas has one open cut cross and one directional drilling cross.
Well, the cross country gas, no, it doesn't have a directional drilling. That directional drilling takes place in the campus proper.
Oh, right. Okay. So zero. So they each have an open cut cross.
Yes. And
that's temporary disturbance, Mr. Connors, just for the BVW, correct?
It is. I would just point out that on alternative one, the crossing there is a very almost, I'm going to call it a dry well. That makes when you go out there, unless it's really raining hard or draining, there's no water in it. Goes fairly steep through there. The one that's cross country 4, that's a flat area that goes through, and it's fairly wide, as shown on the plan and the photographs.
In the Clinton Street gas crossing, which is within the roadway, but that is that stream has flow.
Oh,
year-round.
Yeah,
That's a big crossing. I mean, to do that work, even though it's within the roadway, you're still having a significant impact to crossing Cold Spring Brook.
And it's not only a flood area, it's a floodway.
Okay, I'm just trying to get my
Through the
pros
chair.
and cons lined up.
Yes,
Yep.
Kim.
Just a clarification point, George. Are you saying that the cross-country preferred alternatives, the crossing of Cold Spring Brook for the preferred alternative is not being quantified because it's occurring on the existing campus? I guess I'm just not understanding the difference between crossing on the campus on Cold Spring Brook, which is also a floodway, and crossing in Clinton Street.
Well, first of all, let's talk about the floodway. The floodway is contained within the culvert and the channel on campus. We had demonstrated that with the elevations that are through that area. But in terms of the cross-country gas, that starts at Clinton Street, comes into the property, and comes out by the Maloney building. It's all the wooded area of the site. We've talked about that versus the campus proper, where the buildings are and the driveways and all that. So we've differentiated between the campus proper because that area there is disturbed where any of the pipes go. And under river zone, that doesn't count. So cross-country gas, alternative 4, is through the woods, and it has a crossing of a very small stream just behind the Maloney Building. Is that clear?
And that disturbance is quantified as the 330 square feet,
Correct,
temporary disturbance.
correct.
Jeff, I have a clarifying question.
Go ahead, Ted. Yeah.
I feel like we're moving close to a vote at long last.
I think so.
We are voting ultimately up or down on alternative one. We're not ranking these. We're not voting for which one we prefer. Tonight,
Correct.
if we vote, it's simply, do we approve alternative one or not?
That's correct.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I could ask a qualifying question. So on the preferred alternative, I heard that 23,000 goes down to about 8,000 permanent. So on alternative 4, that 5,900, do we know how much that goes down to permanent?
That's a good question because the cart path already exists. So do you count a trail or whatever it is?
I don't think there was any rehabilitation proposed for alternative 4, right?
Okay.
Replanting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we're ready for a vote on this, but we need to qualify a couple things. I think we have qualified the disturbance associated with each of the different alternatives. And to Ted's point, we're voting on the preferred alternative. So I just want to make clear 2 things. The staging areas, the 3 staging areas are going to be moved outside of the buffer zone. Is that our correct understanding, Mr. Connors?
Yes, it is our understanding. We will do that post haste.
Okay. And the second clarification, which I'm not quite sure, I've heard this in enough detail yet, was the replanting in the corridor. So I think you said for every tree that's removed, there are 2 that are going to be replaced.
Goddard's report did not say that. I have offered that just now.
I think we need some clarification on that because are you talking about like caliper size in terms of tree? So
amenable to almost anything. I will note that the laborer's property is maintained meticulously. They do their own landscaping. Our plans for the new buildings and the renovations out there were, respect to landscape was allowed that the laborers would do it because it's part of their training. There were no specific
okay, that sounds good. And is it at the discretion of, so will the laborers work with, Kim and Anna on determining what is appropriate to be planted?
Certainly.
And where?
And with Goddard, absolutely.
Okay, so Kim, I'm sorry, I'm going to put this on you for caliper size because, for every tree removed to a planted, obviously that's, a Pandora's box, right? So do we want to specify a caliper size, 3-inch, 4-inch?
May I weigh in?
Yes, sir.
When you go large caliper in an area where it's going to have to compete, you have a disadvantage. So I would suggest 1 to 1.5 inch caliper so that there's not instant competition with the existing and the plant gets to grow.
Right,
I'd
but
be
what
happy to work with them.
Right. But what I'm getting at is for the trees removed, what are we considering? So a tree that's being removed, what is the minimum caliper that we're going to require 2 additional trees to be replaced?
Oh, I see. Well, we've agreed based on our arborist walkthrough that there were 91 or 95 or whatever. So they range up to 36 inches, but let's see.
So I would say like 36 inches is a mature tree as opposed to, you know, a smaller tree that's being removed. Kim, you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. My other question is, where are these trees going to go? Because I'm assuming you don't want to put them all back in the gas line corridor.
Oh, yeah, we do. On either side of it.
And that's where I'm saying that he can, you know, laborers can work with you, Anna and Goddard, on determining, you know, where it's appropriate to put those. Kim, if that makes sense.
So may I just interject that the report calls for 45 small diameter stems in the 6 to 14 inch size on his report.
Wow.
95 total.
So 6-inch caliper.
Cool.
Pretty big.
Melissa, Carrie, commission members, does that sound reasonable to you?
I'm not sure if we're talking about the same thing. Mr. Connors, was that removing trees 45 in the 6 to 14 inch caliper, or is that replacing trees 45?
This is the arborist's report. He's said 95 trees, and he classifies them into size, or differentiates them in size. Because 45 small diameter stems, 6 to 14 inch. He calls small diameter stems 6 to 14 inch, and the other ones are big diameter, I guess.
That are being removed or being replaced?
Removed.
Removed.
And replaced.
That was not a proposal for replacement, Jeff.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the 95 trees that he's talked about being removed.
6-inch caliper is the minimum. So that seems reasonable to me. So for anything 6-inch or above, it'll be a 2-to-1 replacement ratio.
Or 190 trees.
Or 190 trees.
How's that work?
Whatever it turns out to be. Melissa, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think, well, the only thing I'm wondering is if you're taking down that many trees and you're replanting in a smaller area because you have to keep that 8-foot wide corridor. Not that I want to suggest less trees, but at the same time, I want them to be able to grow healthy. You know what I mean? I'm just envisioning taking a forest and taking, you know, the trees that were here and then putting them in this space and asking them to grow up and then having
between 95 and 190 trees as determined in the field between the various people, Kim, Anna, and Goddard.
Yeah, I see on the plan right now, it says provide infill plantings along the edges of clearing, plant white pine saplings at 35-foot intervals along edges of clearing. And then in the cross section, it says white pine saplings 12 feet apart. I assume that's
so
the
the
8
other
foot in between. So there is some specification on the plan as far as spacing, just not the total quantity.
So the other thing I think we need to, you know, talk about is, so 6-inch is the minimum, you know, for trees, anything 6-inch or above is going to be replaced 2-to-1. The other thing that we need to talk about is what are the replacement calipers going to be? Saplings doesn't, in my mind, isn't going to, you know, isn't going to be sufficient. I think we need to have a certain caliper, you know, 5 feet in height, or 4-inch caliper, which is, or 5 feet in height, a 2-inch caliper is kind of typically what we use as our standard.
That sounds about right, Jeff. And then you don't risk it getting cut down when they do the annual mowing either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think saplings being planted is appropriate. from mature trees, you know, that are being removed. Mr. Connors, are you okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Commission members, thoughts, comments?
Yes. Could you repeat they'll be replaced with what size? Jeff, sorry.
5 foot in height or a 2-inch caliper.
Thank you.
2
And
to
Jeff?
1. Yes, Jim.
And Kim and Anna would be involved with labor's training, Mr. Connors, whoever, to develop the placement of all these trees, right? Spreading them out along the corridor, and the right, you know, type of plant material, right? So they'll do that as well, right?
Correct. Mr. Connors,
Okay.
that's your assumption as well?
I'm happy to do it, or I would have Butter do it, either one of us.
Okay, and I just want to make sure that Kim, you're okay with that before we vote.
Yeah, I can kind of provide verification for that for the applicant. I do want to express that I agree with Melissa. I think we may end up having to find some other areas to plant some of these trees because I think that the corridor may get overcrowded. That being said, I know that there are buffer zone areas on the laborer's property that could benefit from some plantings.
I think we want to vegetate the corridor.
We want to make it.
To revegetate that to the abutters, you know, satisfaction. So that might be replacing some shrubs or bushes rather than trees if it looks like, you know, there's going to be overgrowth, that type of thing. Does that make sense, Kim?
Okay, we can do that.
Mr.
Yeah, I like that
Connors?
too, Jeff.
That's
Mr.
fine.
Connors, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So we have some flexibility there.
You do.
And I have a question from the public. I don't know, Claire, I'm not sure what your last name is. I apologize, but go ahead.
It's Claire Bett. I'm one of the abutters. I'm a little confused about replacing the trees because we're having to keep the corridor sort of clear. So how are we going to plant these trees that will make any difference to that corridor in an area that has been left to tree itself for God knows how many hundreds of years? And it's not short of saplings, and it's already decided where mature trees can thrive. So we're going to be putting trees in, and we have no guarantee that they're going to take because it's not short of them to start with. I mean, it's heavily wooded already. So where are we going to be putting these replacement ones in? And what good is it going to do? It's not going to help those of us who have to look at the corridor because the corridor has to stay clear.
The entire corridor doesn't need to stay clear. So the 25-foot width would need to be cleared to install the line. Once the line is installed, there's only an 8-foot width corridor that needs to be maintained going forward. Is that correct, Mr. Connors?
Yes.
Of the corridor that can be replanted, you know, with the, you know, with the planting specifications that we're discussing. Does that make sense? Okay. So I think we are ready to vote on this. So this is, we're gonna bifurcate the vote under, oops, excuse me. We're gonna bifurcate the vote under the act and the bylaw. And this is for the preferred alternative that the laborers training is seeking. So if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for the gas line, which is 37 East Street.
So
I'll
moved.
make- I'll second it.
Through the chair.
Yes, Kim.
Is that
And
under
this
the
is,
Wetlands
this is under
Protection
the,
Act?
this is under the Wetland Protection
Okay.
Act. So we have a motion, a second, and we'll do the roll call vote. So Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
No.
Ted,
No.
Ed,
No.
Jim,
Aye.
and
This
I'm
is
an
under the
aye.
Wetlands Protection Act.
Under the Wetlands Protection Act, and I'm an aye.
Clear.
So I think there's 4 ayes and 3 nays, so the motion carries. Anna, is that correct?
That's what my count was, correct?
Okay. All right, and we'll do the vote under the bylaw. Melissa, or if I can get a motion under the bylaw, sorry.
I'll make that motion.
Ted, okay, in a second.
Second, Janine.
All right, and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
No.
Ted,
No.
Ed,
No.
Jim,
No.
and I'm a aye. I'm a yes. The motion doesn't carry. So it's denied under the bylaw.
So now the applicant, we
So-
vote on an
so-
alternative?
Nope, there's no vote under the alternative. If the motion passed under the act, it was denied under the bylaw. Anna, is that your tally of the votes?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Okay.
Through the chair,
Yes, Kim.
we have a 3-week meeting jump. Can I get authorization from the commission to sign a order of conditions under the Wetlands Protection Act in the affirmative and a denial order under the bylaw?
I'll make that
Yes.
motion.
And a second, please.
Second, Janine.
And the roll call, Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, thank you, folks. All right,
Through the chair, can I ask
yes,
a clarifying question? So the agenda had 2 items on it for the labor's training, but we only voted on the one, right?
correct.
Okay. The last one,
Um,
17 or dash 1797.
So, Mr. Connors, are you still on the line? So they were holding this, so the continuation for the pond was being held as a placeholder. So if I can get a motion to continue the notice of intent continuation of the pond to the next meeting, the 28th.
This is Ed, so
Motion.
moved.
What was that? Sorry.
This is Ed, and I moved it.
Okay, in a second.
Second, Janine.
And we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay. All right, so moving along, Legacy Farms Road North and South mitigation. This is a continuation. Kim, you want to give us a quick overview?
Through the chair,
Yes.
could I make a recommendation of going out of order, since we do have some folks that were in the audience that might be on the, or addressing whatever ones we have folks in the audience for before any other discussion items?
Yeah, all right, let's do that. I don't think we have anyone on the line for Legacy Farms. So,
Through the chair,
yes, Anna.
you do have the consultant for Legacy Farms on the line.
Okay,
All right, then we go in order.
So, I mean, it's up to you guys, but just letting you know, you do
yeah,
have a
let's
consultant here.
just go in order to be fair to everyone that's been, on the call. So Legacy
Right.
Farms, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting is here along with Eric Swinson from Legacy Farms LLC. As you suggested, I don't know if Kim, you want to give an overview or if Lucas wants to give an overview of kind of the site walk that was conducted. Generally speaking, Mr. Chairman, we're amendable to what Ellie kind of walked through and recommended. We did submit just some general comments. They weren't necessarily full responses, but just really comments in the direction that we want to go with Lucas's guidance, so we can come to a position of providing the commission with documentation of what mitigation has occurred on the property, so that way there's documentation in the record that wetland mitigation was provided, although it may have changed form. There may not be certain areas of bank that were restored, but the level of BVW, particularly on the site, is significantly above what was proposed, and therefore would be sufficient for compliance with the order. But I'll let Ellie speak to that.
Yeah, why don't we, so if you don't mind, I think Kim has reviewed your submittal. She's up to speed on what was provided. The commission kind of has our opinion as to, what's been done, what is sufficient, what needs to be done going forward. So if I can just pass this off to Kim, if that's okay with you, Mr. Arnold.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, perfect. Just because we're, it's 9:22.
Understood.
Great, thank you. Kim?
All right, quick and dirty summary. You're looking on your screen at the areas of the wetland mitigation for the Legacy Farms North and South Road. Generally, these maps were provided by Goddard. So Lucas, Goddard, and Keystone Development, I believe, were out at the site a few weeks ago. Took a look at the different areas, and Lucas got us a report. In general, Lucas asked Goddard to provide some additional information about the mitigation areas, including quantification of the actual land underwater buffer zone, bank resources created. Lucas pointed out that habitat enhancements were required by the order, but not installed. One area, M2, is developing into a wet meadow. Although per the mitigation plan, it was supposed to be forested, but wet meadows are nice too. There are 2 areas that were proposed to mitigate for bank via daylighting of culverts, and these appear to not have been created. Vegetation is well established in the mitigation areas, but there's less diversity than was proposed. And the order of condition required monitoring and treatment for invasives, which hasn't occurred and is recommended. My personal feeling takeaway is that the commission should consider accepting some of the areas which have naturally over time reverted back to wetland as mitigation. These areas may, there may be more damage going in than kind of trying to recreate what was proposed. There are some areas that were never created, the 2 areas of the buried culvert that I mentioned, and I think that the commission may want to consider asking the applicant to complete those areas because they were impacts to land underwater and bank, and now we don't have those 2, apples to apples quantities being replaced if the culverts weren't removed. And then I would also recommend that the commission, and Lucas recommended that the commission ask for the habitat enhancements, additional plantings for diversity, and then invasives management and monitoring, which I believe Goddard has already, accepted and said that they would provide for us.
Okay,
that's quick,
great, thank
quick
you.
and dirty, yeah.
Thank you for that overview, Kim. So, Mr. Arnold, did you have any quick,
Yeah, so basically, Kim gave a good summary. I think the key thing is the applicant is willing to provide all the wildlife habitat features that were originally proposed. We do suggest that we work with LE to maybe relocate them, generally speaking, in certain areas, tweak them to optimize their location now based on the new vegetation. We know some features were actually installed in the M1 area We do have documentation that it was there, but we can work with Ellie to just make sure we want to provide it, and we will. The second thing is the applicant is willing to provide all of the original plantings that were proposed.
Okay.
The only thing is we do suggest that Ellie works with us to relocate them in certain areas, so that way they're more optimal to the current vegetational status of these areas. And we also shift plantings that were going to be in the meadow along the edge of the woods to create an edge, a thicker edge without encroaching into the wet meadow. The third thing is we think that the areas of M5 and M6, which Kim mentioned at Culvert, one of the areas is a very steep valley. It's full of large boulders and large mature trees. If we go in there and do what the plan proposes, those are both eliminated. And so that area is a significant area. M6 has more potential for that option, but it's still a lot of digging. And I think I would ask Joe to kind of speak to the commission on that, on M6's potential options for that to be actually functional. I think it's really not going to be a functional of what was hoped for. And so I think going in there, doing the disturbance is not functional, but we'll take those plantings from M6 and we suggest we move them to M2 and just bolster the planting plan. Again, same planting quantities, just shifting them to optimize the current vegetational status. We
Okay,
want to provide
got it.
2 years of
Okay,
monitoring.
yep. So what I would suggest, just in the interest of time here again, sorry. Why don't the smart people put their heads together? Lucas, Mr. Arnold and Kim. If you guys can all connect, and this is just a suggestion, I'll open up to the other commission members. One of you talk about this, come up with a plan, and then present it to Kim, and Kim can talk with present it to the commission and give us her recommendations. Does that all make sense?
I think that does, as long as the commission as a whole is in general understanding what Elise commented on, and kind of what our proposal is. Again, we may not be able to give the commission every linear feet of bank and land under water body that was impacted. Some of those are never replicated for crossings. So if those are the two areas that are kind of gray. Otherwise, I think what Ellie said, we could definitely comply with and provide you really good documentation to show we mitigated.
Okay, I think we got you. Let me open it up to the other commission members. Does that all make sense to you guys?
Jeff, I think that makes sense. I think things change. This has been under construction for so long that it makes sense to kind of roll with what the current condition is and still providing the same amount of mitigation, but in a better location. So I think, provide the backup and support for that, and then we can go from there.
I completely agree, Melissa. Yeah, project has been 15 years in the works. Things change, so we'll let you folks, Lucas and Goddard, come up with some options, present it to Kim, and Kim has the best interest of the commission, always at the forefront. So we defer to her expertise and Anna's. Does that make sense to the other commission members?
Sounds good to me.
Me too.
Okay, great. All
Great,
right,
thank you
Kim.
so much, appreciate it.
Yep, thank you. Kim, you good with that?
Yes, I am. I do wonder if we should hold a place on our agenda for this at an upcoming meeting. Just we can present what we did do, or just in case we still have one area of disagreement with the applicant.
Yeah, I mean, to Melissa's point, this has been 15 years in the works. So I think if we push it out to the 14th, March 14th, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It gives everyone time.
Yeah, I think that's good.
If I get a motion to that effect,
I'll make the motion.
and a second,
Carrie, I'll second.
and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim, and I'm an aye. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, you too. So Stukel, 68 Pine Island Road, this is a request for a certificate of compliance. Mr. Stukel still on the line?
Sorry, still on mute. My apologies.
Yep, no problem. Good evening.
Been a few hours. So,
Okay, so Kim, do you want to give us a quick overview? Please.
Yes, I can. Let me just pull up my notes. Okay, so this application is a request for a certificate of compliance. The original order was back in 2010 or 2011, I believe. It was the construction of a building addition, a patio, retaining walls, garage, and some site grading. So Lucas Environmental was able to go out to check it out. And a couple of notes. So the order approved the removal of 4 trees between the patio and the retaining wall, which also serves as the bank of the lake. The plans indicated 5 trees were to remain. Lucas found that there was no trees between the patio and the bank. We were able to find in our records that Dawn had issued 3 exemptions for removal of trees at the property. So Dawn approved a total of 3 dead trees in 2019 and 2018. And then in 2020, the commission issued approval at a meeting for 3 additional trees. So 6 trees in total. At the 2020 meeting, the commission requested 3 mitigation plantings. We weren't able to identify those as being installed at this time. Joe's other comments were that the rooftop infiltration system doesn't appear to have been installed. We don't have any indication that it was. And the patio was installed 2-ish feet closer to the lake than approved.
Okay. So I think, I'm not sure the infiltration for the roof runoff, Kim, this is like right at the lake, so it's probably pretty close to groundwater. I'm not sure how effective that would be, but I'll defer that to Carrie and Melissa, our stormwater experts. So it seems to me that, it's just the 3, that issue, whether we're good with that, and then the 3 plantings that need to be replaced. Does that make sense, Kim?
Yep.
If I think on the infiltration, they should provide some sort of documentation on why that's not feasible. If they found groundwater, then they can provide that information during construction.
am I able to speak?
Absolutely, Mr. Stukel.
All right. So the slab of the house is roughly 3.5 feet above the level of the lake. The infiltration system required a 2-foot bed of stone, 12 inches on top, and you had to over excavate down to a little over 4.5 feet. We hit water at 3.5 feet. So the infiltration system was so that we could install a gutter system on that side of the house. And we have not installed a gutter system. The whole premise of having the dry well, if you will, was to have that option to put gutters on the house. So that's why we requested it. So the other piece that we did was we also lowered the pitch. Typically you put a patio in at 1/4 inch per foot. We put it in at 1/16 inch per foot so that any kind of runoff would sheen or plane off in a lot slower fashion so that it wouldn't erode the plantings down at the base of the wall. So I'm willing to give you guys a letter on that. It's a simple matter of grade. And this was discussed at the meeting. Yeah, 210, I think it was. But the request was to have it. And so we tried to put it in, but it just was not going to work. But the alternative was I'm just letting I'm not using any gutters on that side of the house. So.
Okay, so I think if we can, if you can put a narrative together,
Yep.
summarizing that, Melissa, does that make sense?
Yeah, I think just providing that alternative of what was done instead is helpful.
Okay. And then, it's just a matter of the 3 plantings that were supposed to be put in. Can those be installed?
Yeah, I guess that's just a miscommunication. I saw the video, and Anna, thanks for providing that. I had more hair back then, but we didn't really decide on what the planning was, and I said I was open to it, but I didn't see it in the order of in the reply on the order of conditions. So I apologize. It was not something that I wasn't sure whether that was a definitive or part of the discussion. So I did get a list from Don McAdam of just the sort of types of plantings. I want to avoid anything too tall because part of but there's 3 things, and I'll share with the committee. I had McPhee come out, Harrison McPhee, the arborist, come out, and the white pines were as a result of, they think, of a fungus. And I actually have an article on it if anybody was interested, that they provided me with that. The key here is that the winds, we're in the southwest facing, on the lake, southwest facing. So I just want to avoid getting something too tall that can be blown down when we get a lot of wind out of the southwest. So what's the best way for us I can do the plantings, not a problem. Location will be important. And what's the best way to proceed on that one?
I would just say that, connect with Kim.
Okay.
And you guys can work through, what you're going to plant and the location. Kim, is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly find a native non-hybrid planting that won't get too tall for you.
Okay. And is that me coming to your office and making an appointment, or is something that you want to do remote?
We could just exchange a few emails and work it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I work in Hopkinton, so that's not a problem.
Okay, does that make sense to the commission members? Are we good?
Yes.
All right, so, if we can get those couple things taken care of, then I think we can close out the certificate of compliance, Mr. Stukel.
Yeah, so, again, the trees were just an oversight. I really can't plant anything for another 3 or 4 months. And I'm trying to close this out as fast as possible. So what's the time frame to do that? Is there another hearing that has to happen, or once we satisfy the 3 trees, can this be signed off?
Yeah, we can, once you take care of the narrative and the 3 trees, then you don't have to come before us in another meeting. We can just do it. You can put it on the agenda. You don't have to attend another meeting. We can just close it out.
It was entertaining, but I'd like to avoid it. All right.
It's always good to have fellow Hopkintonians on the call. We enjoy fans. So.
Yes, thank you. So Kim, I will reach out to you again. Thank you for your correspondence, and I'll try to propose a couple of options for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Stukel.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Have a good evening. Okay. Goes 124 Lumber Street, request for tree removal.
Yes, we are here.
Hi,
Good evening.
good evening.
Okay. Thank you for hanging in there. So Kim, quick overview on this one for the commission, please.
Yes, so Mr. and Mrs. Ghost have they're at 124 Lumber Street. So as you can see, this is a house that when it was constructed was kind of sandwiched in between the commission's buffers. So there's a 125-foot vernal pool buffer and then a 50-foot wetlands buffer. So there's a request for the removal of 6 trees. And right on the border of the 125 and the 50-foot, they are all pines. Anna and I went out there and I determined that tree number 3 was compromised due to its root system being damaged by the retaining wall and its proximity to the house. But I suggested that an opinion of a certified arborist be obtained for the remaining 5 trees. That has since been provided by the homeowner. And the certified arborist did recommend that the additional 5 trees be removed.
And then your suggestion, Kim, is that based on the kind of the soil conditions there, that we replace those with shrubs as opposed to more trees, right?
I would recommend that because of the proximity in this location.
Okay.
I will say that there's the PIB is on one of these trees, so we'll need to also replace the PIB, and the homeowner may want to consider shrubs that are facultative. So we'll just have to have some careful selection, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So Mr. Ghost, did you have any questions? I think, thank you for having the arborist come out and look at that. I think we are, based on that, the commission is good with the trees being removed, replacing them with shrubs. If you can work with Kim on determining, the types of shrubs and the placement, I think that makes sense to us, and I'll open up to comments from the other commission
Sorry,
members.
through the chair. I almost forgot. I would also recommend, with the exception of tree 3, I would recommend that these trees be left as snags for wildlife habitat, which means, they get cut to about between 6 and 8 feet. So if they do fall, they won't fall on, on your property or cause any damage of that type, but they're still providing that wildlife habitat. And they are, not contributing to erosion because we don't have the stump grinding.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Through the chair, would we recommend just dropping them or actually like dropping them into the wetland or removing?
Kim, I think we were removing the tree, right, and just leaving the snag.
Yeah, either or, there is some value to having the woody debris dropped in the buffer zone in terms of wildlife habitat and nutrient cycling, but it is something that can be somewhat unsightly.
And also we are open to like not cutting the tree all the way till the root. We can leave 3-4 feet up, so
They
that
already said 6 feet.
yeah, 6 feet. So we can leave that thing. So
No, they are saying if they want to remove the top part, which is getting cut,
Yeah.
removed from that wetland area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I would leave that up to the homeowner or the top of the tree, whichever you prefer.
Sure.
Okay.
Leave it or get it taken away.
And we had
There's a
incidents.
lot of underbrush there, so.
And we had a lot of incidents over past 2 days, wherein on Friday and Saturday, again, not a discussion for this committee, but on our driveway, there are so many trees which are bugged by this ashwood, some kind of insect which
Boring through the trees.
boring through the tree. And we have had incidents, with trees falling on our driveway. And one time I almost barely skipped when I was leaving home to drop my kids to school. So, probably, that's a discussion for another time, but that's also is happening, and I'll probably bring it up with the committee, after this is taken care of.
Okay. Other comments, questions from commission members? All right. I think we'll just, leave this then up to you to decide whether you want the upper part of the tree left or removed. And, you can go forward with the removal of the trees that Kim has approved for the project.
Okay.
And mitigation plantings, right?
And the mitigation plantings,
Okay,
yes.
we're doing 1-to-1.
I think, let me open up to commission members. I think if it's shrubs, it should probably be 2 or 3-to-1 is kind of my suggestion. Is that what's?
Through the chair, this is Ed. Native shrubs.
Yeah, well, of course, it's in the buffer zone, so they're native. It's do we want 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1? What's your thoughts?
These were, trees that were approved by the arborist as needing to come down.
Yeah, I think 1 is fine and you're leaving the snag, so there's not that much, room anyway.
Okay. That makes sense, Kim. Yeah, sorry, Janine, go ahead.
Yeah, I have one clarification question.
Oh,
So
yeah.
do we get the approval in email, or is this conversation considered like an approval?
Kim will send you an email approving the, you can consider this an approval, but the formal email, right, Kim?
Yep. So you'll get a formal written letter from us that usually comes through by email. If you're calling a tree contractor tomorrow and they want to see something, feel free to have them reach out to us and I can shoot something quickly. But yeah, you'll have something in writing that you can give to any tree contractor within a few days.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, Pallavi, 6 Leon's Way. This is a certificate of compliance. Do we have someone on the call for the applicant?
I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening. So where are we at?
So I can bring us up to speed on this one. So the commission
Okay. Yeah.
had considered the certificate of compliance at our last meeting. Generally speaking, there was some questions about the PIB locations and type of installation. The applicant has since amended the PIB's location, and Dan McIntyre with MES has gone out and replotted them on the as-built plan. I was able to compare the as-built plan with the new PIB locations to the locations as originally approved when the commission approved the construction of the house, which was somewhat recent, I think within 2020 or 2021. And the PIB locations now match up with the originally approved locations.
Okay.
And the applicant also revised the type of PIB. I don't know why I'm not finding the photo, but
it's on a stake, right?
Yeah, the PIBs are on the ground. Now they're affixed on a stake with a 2-foot reveal.
Okay, and I think that was kind of the major concern that we identified at the last meeting, Kim, correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, if I can get a motion to, so you're recommending we issue the COC for the site, Kim?
I am recommending the COC, yep.
Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the COC for 6 Leon Way.
So moved.
And a second,
Carrie, second.
and we'll do the roll call. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Jim, and I'm an aye. I think Jim dropped off, Anna.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair.
Yes.
Could you just have a vote to have Kim sign the certificate, please, since we have a 3-week jump?
Yeah, and if we can have Kim sign off on the COC
I'll
on
make that
behalf of the
motion.
members present, and Ted made the motion, a second.
I'll second, Carrie.
All right, and we'll do the roll call vote. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Jim, Ed,
Aye.
Ted.
That is an aye.
I went out of order there. I just wanted to see if you guys were paying attention.
And look at that, I was. Are you shocked?
I was shocked you weren't on mute, Ed. All right, one more, for God's sake.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Oh, all right, Jim. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep, I thought that was Jim. Harahan, 234 Hayden Row, request for tree removal.
Okay, want the quick overview?
Yes, please.
All right, so
quick
this is
overview.
234 Hayden Row. Last meeting, we had discussed the certificate of compliance and the homeowner had requested it's 14 trees be removed in the back. Anna and I went out and took a look and I determined the only tree that was deceased or diseased was number 5. So I recommended just that one. And then we requested the certified arborist. So the applicant has a letter from a certified arborist. The certified arborist did recommend that all of the trees that the applicant requested be removed.
Okay, so I guess the question is, what do we want to do for mitigation on this? Kim, was there a preference with the applicant for shrubs or trees? Do you recall?
I am not aware of one. I do want to make the commission aware that this backyard does have a bit of a bittersweet issue.
Okay, right. So we were talking about maybe having the applicant do the invasive removal as opposed to new plantings, right?
Potentially, if they are, able to do that and open, etc.
Is the applicant on the line? All right. I don't know, maybe reach out, Kim, to them and ask them if that's something that they'd be amenable to. Invasive, removal as opposed to new plantings.
I think the commission may just want to kind of
Make the decision.
Yeah.
I
All
would,
right.
I would prefer invasive mitigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about that, Jeff, is I think the invasive mitigation needs to happen or it's going to kill the new trees. But if we just remove all those trees, they're just going to extend the lawn.
That's exactly my concern.
I mean, maybe you replace the trees 1-to-1 and do invasive management instead of doing 2 trees.
And maybe put PIBs up.
I thought there was a
It should have PIBs, right? I mean, this thing's brand new.
Does it? Does it?
To the chair.
It was supposed to have a fence.
This is part of the reason why the commission didn't approve the COC application at the last hearing. So the applicant put kind of like stones and that we're waiting for an updated as-built from the builder.
Right. Yeah. He had like a little sign that he was gonna like put on the stone or something, right? Yeah. So why don't we recommend because I think we told him to have the builder put the PIBs up. That was our recommendation. So I think we need to reiterate that, Kim, put PIBs up with stakes as opposed to the stones or on trees, whatever you think is appropriate. 1-to-1, removal of trees with a shrub or a tree replacement, and then invasive mitigation. Does that sound good to everyone?
I think I prefer remove a tree with a tree replacement if we're doing 1-to-1 versus a shrub.
Okay.
I think the compromise is we're not doing 2-to-1, but you're removing the invasives. But I wouldn't want to drop all the way down to a shrub.
But the only thing where I think they may have a problem is this is the one where there's like there's no yard. So if we're having them put a lot of trees in the yard, are they going to come back and say, now the trees are too big and they're going to hit the house, we have to take them down?
I don't think we're asking for trees in the yard. I think we're asking for them beyond the dotted line there after they remove the invasives, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you can recommend trees like, hemlocks, things like that, Kim, right? That don't grow too tall, that aren't a threat to the house.
Yeah, I'm going to have to think of some trees that are kind of facultative that this is, again, it's a very wet site. But yeah, I can come up with some stuff that's not going to get super tall.
To the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
Jeff, I need to take you on a walk.
Okay.
Be
Where
afraid.
to?
Be very afraid.
Where to?
You need to let me know when you're available.
That's okay.
Ominous.
That's very ominous.
No, actually, this is really, really exciting. But your comment about hemlocks, I want to take you to see a couple hemlocks.
All right, that sounds good. Okay, Kim, are
I
we
have
good
one,
on
I have
this?
one question, and
Yeah.
I don't know. So when we say invasive management, what does that mean?
Good point.
I mean, I think you guys are right in that all of the trees on this property are gonna be drowned out and die if the applicant doesn't do any kind of invasive management proactively. I mean, they're just gonna come see us every year and say this one's dead, this one's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we just defer to Kim and Anna to kind of manage it. Melissa is my sense. I mean, not to put the onus on.
Can I opt out of that one?
I was gonna say, I've already gotten poison ivy once from that site.
Oh, that site's covered.
Through the chair.
Yes,
Ed, it seems to me what this says is that the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board need to make a point when properties are massively overgrown with invasives, or even just have a few, that there needs to be a plan to get rid of them, like the plan that was put together for Turkey Ridge, where they came in with a plan for dealing with knotweed. To allow this house to be built and sold with a backyard that was impenetrable because of bittersweet, I think is a bad mark on us.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's pretty bad out there, so I'm not quite sure what the appropriate thing to do is. I mean, I don't want them to break the bank, you know, trying to take care of the.
The builder should have done it, and we should have forced the builder to do it.
Yeah, I think like Ed said, this is a lesson learned, but I'm just not sure what, like, you go to this homeowner and say, do invasive species management, like,
What, yeah, what he's gonna
What are they
say,
gonna
what do you
do?
want me to do, right?
spray a bunch of chemicals back there? Probably not.
At the same time, I mean, he's going to end up shelling out a lot of money for tree removal.
Yeah.
You know, versus cutting these vines. I mean,
I
it
think
may
he should
just
do it. I just don't know what we hold it like. I don't know what the.
it may just be an education, you know, component from me, you know, mitigation plantings and education component. I'm not really sure what else.
Yeah, because they're the ones that they didn't know what poison ivy was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I think it should be incumbent on the builder to at least, you know, pay for some of this mitigation of the invasives, since all these trees are going to be coming down. I don't know what recourse we have to go back to them though at this point, right, Kim?
Well, there's no COC yet, but at the same time, some of these trees are coming down because the roots are so shallow. It's a combination of the shallow roots and the invasives. So.
Yeah, and right. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, sort of like to what Kim said about the education part, you know, I guess if it's educating them that like you're going to have to plant trees, but if you don't take care of the invasives, you're going to have to cut those down and plant more. So, I mean, it really is in their best interest. Like, you know, maybe we don't force them, but, you know, educate them that it's in their best interest to take care of the invasive. So it's just going to be a cycle that they keep repeating and paying out for.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. That
And
makes
imagine
sense.
We'd have to give them some guidance. We don't want them just going back there with some herbicide and spraying every leaf they see.
Yeah, we can give them guidance. There's actually just, you know, for Ed, with the MAC classes coming up this next month, there's one on invasive species management. So I don't know if anyone's interested in.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I didn't sign up for that one, but there is one on that's being offered. So if someone's willing to take that class, maybe we can get some suggestions from the professionals on appropriate mitigation measures and management type techniques, that type of thing.
I'm sure I have access to some education and materials through SISMA. I'm sure
We can
have
provide the
something in
homeowner.
Yeah, I'm sure I have something in my repertoire of things. I just need to go dig it out.
Okay. All right. So I guess we need to vote on approval of the tree removal as proposed, Kim.
Sure.
All right. Is there a motion?
Can I just be clear on what we're voting on right now? Is it simply the tree removal? Is it replace 1-to-1? Where did we land?
I think it was 1-to-1 replacement, right? Removal,
And then
1-to-1
encourage
replacement.
them to deal with the invasives, but not require.
Yeah, educational, it's in your best interest to take care of the
Yep.
invasives.
I just wanted to be sure I knew what I was voting on.
No,
And through the chair, I think you guys specified replacement tree, not shrubs.
I was
Right.
pushing for tree.
yeah, I'm fine with that. If everyone else is. No, that's a good clarification, Ted. So is there a motion
I'll make the motion now that I understand it.
and a second?
Second.
All right, Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Jim's not on the call anymore. Okay, so real quick, I know it's been a late meeting. Kim, can you just bring up that Vermont, the I guess we can do it at the next meeting. The buffer zone, it's kind of schematics. It's been a long meeting. It's 10 o'clock. Maybe you can just send it out to everyone. We can look at it, on our own and then talk about it at the next meeting. Kim?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yes, Ed.
I'm leaving.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second.
All right. Melissa,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Ed,
He wasn't kidding.
and and I'm an aye. Hey, guys, have a great night. Thanks.
Night. It
Joe.
was a long
Okay.
Good night.
All right. Yeah, it was a long one. See you guys. Thanks.